All right, welcome in hockey fans in the Desert Southwest to another What Drives You, presented by M Drive. It's a special one for me because it's an official. It's a stripe, it's a referee, it's somebody I've gotten to be good friends with because I use a camera to get good pictures of them all the time when the referees. But Zach Reese is with me today. Zach, welcome in, first of all.
Appreciate it, thanks for having me.
I had you on a podcast, so we had to talk a little hockey. We had to talk a little Minnesota hockey when I made my trip, but this segment, What Drives You with M Drive, is I want to dig a little deeper into what made you an official. What drove you to that? What drives you today? What drives you to continue to bring officials into the game? So let's start right then and there. When did you decide you wanted to officiate hockey, and did you have to have your head examined, first of all?
Well, just like with goalies, we're a little bit of a different breed, I guess. So with me, born in Minnesota, I was born in Cottage Grove, and our family moved when I was fairly young. We moved from St. Paul to Palm Springs, California, which...
That's a move right there, huh?
One climate shock to another completely. So moving from there, and then staying in a desert climate because we went from there to Arizona. So
Sure.
I've been out in the desert for a large part of my life. And I mean, playing hockey, there wasn't a ton of hockey where I was in California at the time. There was only one rink. It was inside of a shopping mall. So it was a real funky arena too. So it was interesting. But going from there and coming out here where hockey, it wasn't as big as it is now.
Well, sure, yeah.
But it was still fairly large back then. It was great to see how much hockey was here because we didn't think about it. We went from Minnesota where you had outdoor rinks, and then you come to Arizona, and you're thinking, oh geez, you're not going to find anywhere. But thankfully we did find quite a bit of hockey here and everything. So playing wise, I had a great experience as a player. And I knew I wanted to stay here in Arizona, and so I had some family issues and family reasons. My father's his health was declining quite rapidly, so any kind of advancement, I guess, in hockey was kind of put on hold with that, with family. And
Sure.
So I said I wanted to stay around the game. I knew my playing career was going to lead right to beer league, which is where pretty much everybody ends up.
That's where you go, right?
Gosh, Shane, don't without that. So I wanted to stay around the game, and I didn't really have an interest in coaching, and so I said, what's the next best thing for me, and officiating was the next best option. I gave it a shot, and right now I can't tell you what a great decision that was.
And that's fun to hear because I've gone through both levels. I told you that. I went through the coaching ranks to level 4. I went through the refereeing ranks to level 4. That was after my playing days because I wanted to stay involved with my kids playing at that time. So as I built my way through it, officiating was something I really enjoyed doing. But man, if there's the most thankless job in the world, it's an ice hockey official.
Yeah,
agree? Yes, no?
It's a catch-22 because we're arbiters of the game, so we're gonna, you're gonna make a determination, you're gonna make a judgment in a game where one team's gonna be upset with it, the other team's gonna be happy with it, or you could make a determination where both teams are upset with it. So, it's a catch-22, something like that, I think. But,
so when you're officiating the game, is there ever a time that you can go, hey, this game went so smooth that both teams were happy with it?
Oh sure. You run into those, and really, we play a role out on the ice, of course.
Yeah.
But we hear a lot mostly from youth amateur ranks, or you hear from parents. It's that they'll yell at the referees, or they'll say something to the referees. Hey, I got to get control. The fact of the matter is we have the least amount of control over this as possible.
Yeah.
Really, it really starts at home. It's the coaching staff and the players. How the coaching staff reacts. It reacts to, the players will feed off of that.
Sure.
And so we just want to keep it as fair as we can, and
and that's something that I saw too in the refereeing ranks. It was like you try to go out there and try to keep it as fair as you can. You just try to make sure that you do your job, which is seeing the infractions and making the right call when you need to. But as much as you can stay out of it, you won't let the players decide the game for the most part, right?
100%. That goes for what we just talked about there with the players are going to decide the game, really.
Yeah.
They're going to decide, naturally we're out there to enforce the rules of the game, but the players dictate the flow of the game. They dictate the penalties, they dictate the offside infractions, they dictate the icing infractions. So we want to be as unseen as possible, but naturally we don't know. We know that things don't always turn out that way, and there's a time and a place to step in, and you have to be able to.
Okay, so many things have changed in officiating, and I know you do games at all levels, and as you watch what's happened over the years, has there been an evolution as far as the players and the parents? USA Hockey's made a real concerted effort to try to get to the parents and get them to get under control and get coaches to stay under control. Have you seen it over the last maybe 6-7 years where there's been a change?
I would go back even further. I mean, even in my playing days, I mean, we see a lot of the things that happen now on social media. We see like a lot of the videos and the stories that come up, at youth and amateur sporting events. Arguably, I would argue, I don't know how it was in other parts of the country, but where I was, I mean, it was pretty bad. I remember, thankfully, my father and my parents were never like that. So, but it was pretty bad back then. And yeah, with the USA Hockey Standard of Play initiative, and with certain steps that they've taken over the years, zero tolerance policies, and so on and so forth, it has gotten better in some ways and gotten worse in others. It seems like, with 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have cameras at every single youth amateur game. I mean, now when we step on the ice for an 8U cross ice game, we have the whole stadium has iPads stalling the kids and everything. So, it's a little bit of a catch-22. But they've done a good job with, I think USA Hockey's done a good job with laying the groundwork and the foundation for the officials to follow, and it's up to them really to follow those things. And for us too, as senior officials and as me being part of Referee Association, we have to support those young officials.
All right, I want to go into that part of it right now and talk a little bit about the Officials Association, because it's something that I started off the conversation by saying it's a thankless job.
Yeah.
And you have to have your core group, right, as officials. You have to deal with the Coaches Association, you have to deal with players and parents, so there's all these groups that have to come together.
Right.
How does that work? Give us an overview of how it all works, and in your estimation, is it working, or is there some room to get better?
I think there's always room to get better on all sides. I mean, from the officiating standpoint to the coaching standpoint to the parental standpoint, I think that there's room for improvement, at all levels really, especially youth amateur hockey. So I'd like to see more involvement between the local associations, the hockey organizations, and the governing body for Arizona, working in conjunction with the Referee Association, for the simple fact that you really don't get anywhere unless you sit down and have level-headed conversations about things. So if I see a lot of positives that can happen when you get officials, and especially officiating association, in the same room as in the coaching staff, and they do this at higher levels. Anyway.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of all the big conferences, do the exact same things where they'll bring in, they'll have the coaching staffs, they'll have the officials, they'll have preseason meetings or fall meetings, and when you actually sit down in the classroom setting, or you sit down and you discuss these things that go on, discuss each other's concerns, you actually realize you're not that far off.
Yeah.
So
it's a matter of communication.
Right, and that goes, on the ice it's very important, and off the ice it's extremely important as well. So, we have to do our part, and we have to be supported. We have to support our officials, and in turn, as the Officials Association, we have to be supported as well. So.
All right, let's take a quick break. Let's come back and let's talk about the logo on your shirt, the Rocky Mountain District, and talk a little bit about how we get more involved and different things like that, and what we can do to bring some more officials in and make them better and better. Awesome. We'll be right back with another segment of What Drives You, presented by M-Drive.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.
All right, welcome back in, hockey fans in the Desert Southwest, to another What Drives You, presented by M-Drive. Zach Reese is still with me. Mesa, Arizona right now is home, correct?
Correct.
A new rink coming up in Mesa too, by the way, so that's the more the merrier as far as rinks go. We're getting through this pandemic, and you and I have talked several times over the summer about the different things. And so before we jump into what I said was your logo, let's talk about the pandemic and how it's affected not only you personally, but you professionally as an official. It shocked everybody, right?
Yeah, I don't think too many people thought that we'd be in the position that we're at 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, with all the things that have happened, it's been interesting to watch watch how things developed and everything. And thankfully, I mean, everybody in my family's healthy. You know, I haven't heard too many bad things come out from it. Professionally, I know it's hit a lot more people other than myself, a lot harder. You know, it's kind of difficult when gyms are shut down and, you know, staying in shape and everything. So, you know, 4 or 5 months, I've been thankful I had something set up already so I can stay in shape at home.
Right.
So that's been very positive. I mean, I've only been on the ice a handful of times since March. But,
well, and that's the big thing with this type of pandemic is it affects the lungs, and if you don't have good lungs, you're going to have a problem skating and keeping up with the play and all that stuff. But that's another topic completely. I just thought we better touch on it a little bit. The Rocky Mountain District. Talk a little bit about USA Hockey officials side of things and how they're developed and what you're a part of and how this whole group officiates games here in the Desert Southwest.
That's
it's a big question.
That's a really loaded question out here. I mean, the Rocky Mountain District. This is Arizona's part of the USA Hockey's Rocky Mountain District,
which includes the Rocky Mountains, essentially, right up and down the western part of the United States.
Yes, and my understanding is that each district does their, you know, they have their own specific things that they run through. I mean, we have USA Hockey's seminar material, and we have the learning material and resources there, the national resources, and then it's tweaked a little bit, it seems like, at the district level of developing, you know, each district has a different way of developing officials or different programs to help officials advance and so on and so forth.
So if I'm Joe Jones down the street and I decide that I want to get into officiating hockey, how do I do it?
Honestly, the first thing I would do, we have a great program in Arizona here. We have a ton of resources that we've compiled. We try to make it as easy as possible. We try to be as transparent as possible, and we try to be as available as possible. You know, I've talked to a lot of officials outside of Arizona. I've talked to a lot of in big hockey markets in Minnesota, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, and everyone's impressed on how organized Arizona is when it comes to, you know, the officiating association. You know, we only have one officiating association that schedules and is in charge of all USA Hockey sanctioned games here.
So, which is a ton.
Yeah, it's a lot. So the first thing that I would encourage them to do is visit our website, www.azhockeyrefs.org, and you know, we have registration steps set up step by step. We have resources to help officials. We have Q&As. We have frequently asked questions, you know, for parents that are thinking about maybe their kids coming into, you know, they have a player and they want to come in and become an official. So there's a ton of resources there, and I really encourage everybody to start there.
You know, and I know they moved through a level system, right? Level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up. Skating obviously is an important part of it. You need to be able to move around the ice. It's not like you can put your boots on and stand on the blue line, right?
Yeah.
So
it depends.
It depends, he says. Tell me a little bit about the skating aspect of it. I know you guys do drills, certainly in the higher level. You do a lot of skating drills to position yourselves right and you know, conduct face-offs properly and all of that things. But how much skating is involved as a level 1, 2, maybe a 3? How much do they have to be in the skating level?
It's a little hard. I mean, it's a little bit more of a loaded question because level.
I like those.
Yeah, I know.
You know me by
you're
now,
getting
right?
it here. USA Hockey level, just in my personal opinion, levels, and I'm not going to say they don't mean anything, but levels don't necessarily dictate talent level or
Okay.
dictate skill. There are different requirements for level 1 officials and level 2, level 3, level 4. There's a level 4, there's a skating requirement, so you have to pass a specific set of skating requirements where you're judged and you're timed. But for levels 1, 2, there's actually no ice for level 3.
Right.
USA Hockey's decided, so level 1 and 2, kids go out there and they basically learn, for an hour, hour and a half, they learn basic things such as positioning, icing, offside, and so something so simple as dropping a puck or learning how to blow the whistle. Because
Right.
I mean, I guess it's things that I take for granted because it's kind of second nature,
Right.
and so I gotta bring myself down and sometimes to that level and think, hey, the kid's never blown a whistle before, so teaching them something like that, how to blow their whistle.
Blow with authority, right? It's
Well,
one
yeah.
of the things.
This is how you blow the whistle. So
Well, one of the things that I caught a lot of guys in the younger parts is just making that handoff, right? When you're doing an
Yes.
icing and
Yeah.
handing the puck off. You don't think of it as being an instrumental part, but it is, right? I mean, properly handing the puck to your officiating partner.
I think it goes to the, I guess, overall credibility and overall look of the officials. If they're smooth and their cadence is there, a lot of things. It's just, officiating, in my opinion, is just a ton of small things. And it's something like, as you said there, just something as simple as a handshake, handing the puck off rather than flipping it at somebody, or, somebody always dropping it, or so on and so forth. Just kind of the smoothness adds to the credibility and the confidence factor on the ice.
That was going to be my next question. You look at, you dress for success in other aspects of life. The professionalism you bring to the ice also gets you instant respect. What I've found on the ice is if you're dressed properly, you look good as an official, you take control, you get a little more respect. Is that a fair thing, or is that just in my mind and the players decide if they're going to respect you or not?
I don't know. I can't say 100%, but I do know that as an official myself, looking at somebody else that might have, wrinkled up uniform, or a uniform that doesn't fit correctly, sweater's 2 sizes too big,
Right.
or, pants that are unhemmed or something like that. I mean, it's small things on the ice, procedural-wise, and then small things like that where we can really clean up, we can really clean ourselves up. That adds to our credibility, that adds, obviously if somebody takes a look at a person and, everything's kind of hanging off of them and everything is dirty and the laces are dirty and just very small stuff like that, they're going to be looked at differently as somebody who's, hey, they got clean laces, hey, their equipment fits properly, they don't have stickers all over their helmet, those types of things. So, I mean, for me, I take a lot of pride in my equipment. My equipment's lasted me a long time, and I'll look at some of your pictures that they show you, like, oh, that looks a little odd. I got to adjust that every once in a while. So I'm thankful to have somebody like you that can keep me in check for those types of situations.
Well, I appreciate that because I take a lot of pictures, and my partner Zach Bondrat takes a lot of pictures as well, and so does Robert. That's out there with us. So that was going to be my next question. We'll kind of wrap up this segment on that, but you touched on this earlier about the cross ice games of 8-year-olds or whatever, and everybody's got a camera. Has that changed officiating? Now that you know that the cameras are
a little
on?
bit. We like to use, everybody sees the cameras. I mean, I guess you can see it from both sides. One sees, well, we're going to see every time a referee screws up or every time that we don't agree with the call. And then I look at it from an officiating standpoint of what can we do to make that official better, or myself. Like, I watch a lot of game film of myself. I watch situations happen on the ice, and I watch a lot. I sit in the stands and watch a lot of younger kids. So, and we also use a lot of video when it comes to it. So, my personal take on it, I mean, it can be either as good or as bad as we allow it to be. But I like it because, I mean, camera doesn't really lie.
Yeah.
It doesn't give 100% definite on situations because ice level is definitely much different than any camera, out there. And so we use it to the best of our ability, and we use it as a positive resource for officials to improve them.
Well, at the upper level, you watch the NHL now, and cameras have become a major part of it. We saw it in the restart with a goal and 1/10 of a tick in the to determine a winner. We saw a major offside that was caught by video review. So I'm sure at that point that's kind of good, but as an official, and we'll make this the last one of this segment, but as an official, is that good for you? Like if you were at that level, or when you're doing an NCAA game, do you like that, to know that there's an eye in the sky that can maybe catch something that you missed? Or is that something you just, the way I see it, at full speed, this is how I'm going to call it?
I think that if we were, I don't like, my personal take on it is I don't like leaning back on, leaning back on that. I really like replay a lot. I think it can be used in a lot of positive ways, and I think it has, done a lot of positive things, out there. The game is so fast right now. I mean, it's everything is getting so quick, and having that little extra support there, is great. For me, I don't ever think about it, really. I just, we had some offside challenges last. I actually had to do my first couple last year, and happy to say I got both of them correct.
Yeah.
I take a little victory there. But yeah, I mean, it can either be a crutch or it can be something that's used, positively. And I mean, especially in the National League, it's used really well. And I mean, NCAA, it's been great. Even at this arena, they have an excellent system here that's just spot on with everything. So.
All right, we'll take another quick break. We'll come back with another segment with Zach Reese on What Drives You, presented by M-Drive.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.
All right, welcome back in, hockey fans in the Desert Southwest. This is another What Drives You, presented by our friends at M-Drive. Zach Reese is still with me. I kept him around for a third segment because we got so much to talk about, especially when it comes to officiating. We talked about a number of different things, but I know you officiate at different levels, right? And you got to bring in people at the lower levels to get them, and how was it? What was the word that we said? We said retention, right? Mm-hmm. You can get them in, and it's really not hard recruiting them initially because everybody wants to make a few extra bucks and they want to stay close to the game, whether it's a kid or whatever. It's a nice thing to do to maybe officiate a little bit. But the retention is the problem. Why is retention a problem?
It's an issue across all sports, not just hockey. It's not just a hockey-related issue.
I know.
Officiating is kind of in some sports it's in real bad crisis mode. It's not getting much better, which is why USA Hockey's they have a zero tolerance policy, but they're really trying to crack down on it this year. Retention, recruiting generally isn't too much of an issue because you typically have a lot of players, a lot of kids coming in, a lot of players coming in. The retention, it's hard to say 100%, but we're clearly not doing ourselves any favors if a kid's going to go out there who's 14, 15, 16 years old, right, and going to get screamed at for an hour and a half, or is going to get verbally abused by players or coaching staff or parents or whatever. So that's a big part of it. I know that USA Hockey's done some surveys of officials throughout the year, and I know that the Rocky Mountain District did a specific survey. I think it was either last year or 2 years ago, and a huge amount of the officials that responded to it was verbal abuse.
Okay, so let's talk about the retention, and we stop the verbal abuse. That helps. You make a few extra dollars. Let's talk about the positives. It's a way to make some extra money if you're interested in doing it. The higher the level, the more you can make doing it. And I won't ask you specifically, but it's something that if you take pride in and you enjoy it, money's not a bad option either, is it?
No, I mean, it's a great thing, you know. I love seeing the young kids come in 14, 15 years old, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they really, they say, I don't want to go to a grocery store and buy groceries. I'd rather go out and, you know, stay around the game and,
Right.
you know, and they make a few bucks. And, you know, I know a couple kids that reached out to me and said, hey, this is awesome that we're able to buy our own PlayStation games or whatever, you know, and, you know, that's there too. But the passion of the game, you know, has to be there as well. So, you know, you see some parents that'll kind of, when I'm sitting in seminars, I can tell the type of parents that have forced their kids to be there, just don't want to be there.
Right.
And that's fine, and that's fine too. You know, it takes a certain type of personality.
Yeah.
You know, it can be a very positive experience. You know, learning how to communicate, conflict resolution, determinations, judgments. You know, those types of things. So it can be a very not just in hockey related, but just in personal growth. You know,
Sure.
it has a lot.
It's a life skill,
positives.
right?
Absolutely, and you know those types of kids you can see, you know, coming up through everything. So.
Okay, so we know the influence on hockey from the retired NHL players. I mean, that when you talk to people, you know, a dozen years ago, 10 years ago, and they say, yeah, it's because all these NHL players that were either Coyotes or that saw the lifestyle in Arizona have decided to retire out there. Now their kids are starting to grow up, and then they're playing hockey, and they become volunteer coaches or lightly paid coaches,
Right.
But they all enjoy that part of it. Are we seeing any of that influence in officiating?
In Arizona, not.
No?
I can't think of too much of that now.
I thought it was a curious question because we see all these NHL players that are retiring, like I said, but we don't really see officials coming out here and going like, hey, this is my winter home and I want to, maybe they're not active, but wouldn't it be nice if you could get some guys that maybe retired, that were NHL officials that retired out here that wanted to come back and give back? Is that a possibility, do you think, down the road? Or?
Well, the nice thing is, I mean, we're speaking of NHL officials, there are a handful of them that actually have retired here. Jay Scherer's one of the best linesmen, I think, in the National Hockey League ever, in my opinion. You know, my personal mentor, who was, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better supervisor, mentor, Wayne Bonney.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, I had such a blast, and having those resources here is just so cool. I mean, you can't really put it into words on you know, how awesome that is to have those guys with that much experience and the willingness to get back to.
Right.
You know, I mean, Jay's, I know he's very active in the Missouri Ice Hockey Referee Association up there. You know, he does some podcasts and he does some Zoom calls and everything. And I know, you know, Wayne has been an awesome mentor, you know, out here, and awesome for higher level officials out here. So.
Well, as we sit here today, we're at Oceanside, and we thank Oceanside for their space as always, but you do a lot of games on Oceanside Ice Arena, and I want to get your feel, because when I talk to players, I say, you know, you play games here, especially the NCAA guys, they play in Oceanside, then they may go to Wisconsin, or they may go to Alaska, or they may go to China, who knows. But what's it like as an official to adjust to different rinks? Is there a big thing with that? Like, if you are here one night and at the Tucson Arena the next night, is there something that's got to go on in your head visually, or is it just still the same ice surface?
I think the hardest thing, honestly, going from here is, you know, the low ceiling and everything seems so close, even though it's complete regulation size. You know, the surface is.
It just feels small.
Yeah, everything feels very compact. You know, the one really nice thing, and I think the one biggest difference is being able to track the puck when it's in the air.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier in a place like this than it is in a large venue like Tucson. Sure. You know, especially with the black netting around the rink, protecting the seating area. When a puck goes up, it's hard to track. You know, out here it's pretty easy. You know, it's still going quick, but out there, it could hit the back of the netting. It could graze the netting, and it's difficult to witness.
And here at Oceanside, as soon as it hits the rafters and everything falls to the ice, you know exactly it's out of play, right?
Yeah, asbestos. we gotta get out the hazmat guys to come out and scrape the ice and everything.
Oh, we love Oceanside, and all the players that come in here love it as well. It's home to the NCAA guys, and we're very thankful for it. But we always have to make a joke or two.
No, I have to.
And our side of it on the NCAA thing is Denver, when they came here last year, started a little Twitter war in advance about coming to a quote-unquote community rink. Well, when I got back to Minnesota, I had a chance to visit at the University of St. Thomas, who literally plays at a community rink. So we had
there we go.
We had a little battle about St. Thomas coming in now has the third smallest college NCAA rink that they're currently playing in, next to ASU at Oceanside and one other school. But anyway, that was just a little side note. So let's wrap things up by getting back to the core of this, the what drives you part of it, because it takes a special dedication and a love for the game. Dig deeper a little bit for yourself and go like, well, why do you do this for, God, how many years have you done this now?
This is my 12th season with USA Hockey.
What made you do that? And each year, why do you want to do it again?
Some games I actually have to ask myself why. Thankfully, those games are very far and few. I love every second of it, really. I never thought that I would have a brotherhood like I do. You know, the hockey community is small, the referee community is even smaller, and there are so many great men and women out there that officiate. And we touched on it a little bit earlier, is it really boils down to me, what we do on the ice, our personality, how we handle situations, how we communicate. Those are all things that we do in our daily life. Those are all things that we do, you know, dealing with anybody we come in contact with, family members or friends or acquaintances, or just, you know, we're out to eat or something like that. So, you know, I like that aspect of it, and that's something, I mean, my son is a little over 4 years old, and, you know, we're already teaching him, you know, of course he wants to be like Dad, he wants to be a referee, you know, he's been every hockey player, he's been a referee and everything, but, you know, I've noticed that too as a parent, is, you know, kind of taking those things that we do on the ice and applying it there. So, I mean, that's one thing that really, I guess, drives me to just be a better human being, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what it really boils down to.
I hear you. I would be remiss if I didn't let you go with two thoughts that I think people are going to enjoy. I want you to think for a moment and tell me, what is the most memorable moment you've had as an official? And while you're thinking about that, think about what is the most forgettable. What are the things you want to forget about, and what are the things you want to tell us is the most enjoyable and memorable moment? A game, an incident, a referee game that was really well done, a championship game, whatever it was. I mean, you touched on it off camera with me a little bit about goaltending, and you said you really enjoyed Joey Daccord as a goaltender here, but give me a couple. Let's start with the memorable one first. What's one memorable moment? I'm sure you've had tons, but
I've had quite a few that kind of stand out. I mean, one was I did officiate the longest game in youth hockey game in Arizona.
That's what I'm talking about.
And this was back, we had 3 men. Of course, it was, you know, 1 referee, 2 linesmen. You know who the referee was.
Right.
And it was a state playdown game, and the game went 7 overtimes.
Oh my goodness.
So we had 7 overtimes.
And what age group was this?
16 and under.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great. So I was in. Thankfully, I prepared a little bit for it, but I mean, there's no way I could prepare for something like that. I think the game started at 6 o'clock, and they actually had to. They canceled 2 adult league games afterwards, and you know, because they were supposed to run. I don't think it got done until like 11 o'clock. You know, something like that. So, and that was a really cool game to be a part of. And
well, that's one obviously you're not going to forget.
That one was memorable. Yeah, the cramping still is. You know, I think I started cramping up around the 6th overtime. My calves started cramping up.
You went way past where I would have
got.
Yeah, 6 overtimes would have done it for me, but
didn't think I was going to get there. But
okay, so on the flip side of that, where's one that you'd like to forget? Either with just terrible players or or a nasty fight or somebody
fun.
from the crowd. Oh yeah, see, I knew you were going to say that too. But somebody in the crowd that maybe drove you crazy or interrupted the game. Is there anything that was one that you like? I just wish this game had never happened.
Nah, not many people have thrown a trash can on the ice for me. So, I guess I don't know. The one thing I can think of that kind of goes with a memorable experience because it was my first men's Division I NCAA game,
Right.
and it was that was an awesome game. And I was standing at the national anthem, doing the national anthem right at center ice, and I felt something kind of weird around my ankle, and I didn't know, for some reason, my kneecap on my shin guard had broken off and come down and was sitting on my ankle, and my pants are tapered and hemmed at the bottom, so I couldn't get it out.
Right.
So I had to go the whole first period with that hanging down around my ankle, not knowing if it was going to pop out or whatever, and I ended up screwing up 2 icings that period. And so that was probably not my best first period ever, but so it was very memorable for it was an awesome experience, and clearly I knew I was going to cherish that for a long time.
Right.
And then I get out there on national anthem, and I got an equipment malfunction going on, and I'm sitting here goofing stuff up on the ice because I'm too worried about that. So
I love it. Well, we could go on for another hour. I'm sure M-Drive would love to participate in another hour, but we set it up to as close to 30 minutes as we can, so I appreciate your time. I'm going to let you wrap it up just by telling people again how they can get involved and how important it is for them to get involved in officiating, especially here in the Desert Southwest, because with the more players becomes more need for officials, and as officials get older, we need some younger blood, right?
Yeah, more hockey, more need for officials. I really encourage you to start out, at our website again, www.azhockeyrefs.org. If you have any questions, all our contact information is out there, schedulers, board members, and everything. If there's any questions that we can answer that aren't answered on the website, let me know. We try to make it as simple and as streamlined as possible. We do reach out to all the hockey organizations. We send out, every single year, we send out a flyer to all the organizations, and that's supposed to go to all the players as a recruitment flyer. So, again, anything you need, feel free to reach out to myself or any board member. We're here to help you. We're here to assist you on the journey.
All right, you heard it right there, folks. That's another What Drives You with M-Drive. Zach Reese, thanks for stepping in. I do want to announce that we are going to be doing a little segment with your officials. We're going to call it referee remarks or remarks from the referees or something like that.
Perfect.
So we're going to try to keep that out there. So anything that people need to know about officiating, hopefully we can get it out there every couple times a month or whatever we can, and go to the website and see it. Thanks for stepping in. Let's get rid of COVID so we can get back to hockey.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Thanks for, it's nice to have something like this to get it out there. That officiating is important because sometimes I think it kind of gets lost in the mix.
I know it gets lost in the mix.
Player development is extremely important. Coaching development is extremely important, but also for the officials.
Can't play the game without officials.
That's right. So.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in to another What Drives You presented by M-Drive, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with another special edition.